There's a specific type of person who never runs out of ideas and never starts any of them. It could be your friend who's been talking about starting a business for 3 years. Same business, different excuses. Or maybe, be honest, that person is you. You have the idea. The vision board. A Notion template that's honestly kind of beautiful. You don't have the thing itself. And you're not lazy. You want this more than most people want anything. So why is nothing moving? That's not a personal question. It's a psychological one. And it turns out you're not alone in this. Not even close. About 20% of American adults are chronic procrastinators. Not the I keep putting off that dentist appointment kind, but the kind where years go by and the dream is exactly where you left it. College students? That number ranges from 50% on the conservative end to 80% or 90% in some estimates. There's a term in psychology for it. The intention-action gap. The space between wanting something and actually doing it. For people who dream big, that space isn't small, it's a canyon. Here's something the self-help industry has been quietly ignoring. The more vividly you imagine yourself succeeding, the less likely you are to do the work. Not slightly less likely. Measurably, physically less likely. Gabriele Oettingen at NYU has spent over 2 decades proving this. When you make a vision board on Sunday night, your brain does something a little strange. It can't fully distinguish between imagining something and doing it. So it relaxes, thinks the work is handled. They actually measured this. Blood pressure, physical energy levels, both dropped. Your brain had already cashed in the reward before the race even started. Then Monday comes, and there's nothing there, because you spent it the night before, on the picture of the thing instead of the thing. That's not a weakness. That's your brain running the wrong program. But here's where it gets personal. Because this isn't just about vision boards. This is about what happens after you've tried, and it didn't work. Martin Seligman and Stephen Meyer at Penn spent decades studying exactly that. What happens when people fail at things they can't control, over and over with no way out? Eventually, the brain stops trying. Not because the person gave up, because the brain learned, from real experience, that trying doesn't change anything. So it stops, saves energy, decides the game is rigged. Seligman and Meyer called it learned helplessness. The people who look the most checked out are often the ones who once tried the hardest. Something happened. It didn't work, and the brain never really updated the file. They didn't stop caring. Their brain stopped letting them try. Now here's the part nobody talks about, because this isn't just a brain thing, it's a culture thing. The messages start early. You can be anything you want. Shoot for the stars. Believe it, and it will happen. Repeated so often they stop sounding like messages at all. They just sound like the truth. And most of the time, the trap gets built before you're old enough to recognize it. Think about a kid. Call him Leo. 10 years old, science fair, project about colonizing Mars. His mom kept telling him he was a genius. Whenever he hit something hard, she stepped in and handled it. Then the judge asked one real question. Leo doesn't know the answer. His face goes hot. People are watching. In that moment, Leo learns something he'll carry for years. If he were really that smart, this would have come easily. It didn't. So maybe he isn't. Failing in public is the worst thing that can happen. And if the dream never gets tested, no one can ever prove he's not great. Don't try. Don't fail. Don't update the file. Leo walks out with a participation trophy and a nervous system that just learned to protect itself by staying still. A lot of people in their 40s are still running that same program. They have fancier vision boards now. So on an actual Tuesday, what does this look like? You're not lying on a couch doing nothing. You're busy. Just busy with the wrong things. Reorganizing the Notion workspace instead of opening it. Buying a course you'll never open because the checkout page feels like momentum. Listening to a productivity podcast about the exact thing you're avoiding. One more episode at 10 p.m. instead of sleeping. Every single one of these feels like something. None of them is the thing. Not all avoidance is the same. There's a difference between your brain running a protection response and your brain just eating candy. If thinking about starting makes you feel heavy, numb, like there's a weight keeping you on the couch, that's probably learned helplessness. Your brain decided a long time ago that the game doesn't go your way. It's not laziness, it's a circuit breaker, and it tripped for a reason. If you feel excited about the dream but weirdly drained the moment it's time to work, that's closer to what Oettingen found. You spent the energy on Sunday night. Now it's Monday and there's nothing left. Both feel like I can't do this. But they're different problems, and they need different things. American culture doesn't make that distinction. It puts one word on both, and that word is doing a lot of damage. Lazy. It's not accurate, and it keeps people stuck longer than they need to be because you can't fix something if you've misread what it is. Psychologists call it self-regulation failure, not a flaw in who you are, a problem with one specific system. A knee injury isn't bad legs. It's one thing, and one thing can be fixed. The gap isn't between your dreams and your worth. It's between your intention and your action. Different problem, different solution. There's a version of this story that ends with someone in their late 30s carrying a belief they rarely say out loud, that their potential was probably a lie. It wasn't. But they grew up praised for their gifts, not taught to struggle. They learned that working hard meant you weren't really that talented, that the dream is safer when it stays a dream, because a dream can't fail. And another year goes by. Next year is the one. It usually isn't. Not without understanding what's actually happening. The problem was never wanting too much. The problem is what happens in the space between Sunday night and Monday morning, between the vision board and the blank page, between I'm going to do this and the silence that follows. That space has a name now, and naming it changes something. Not everything. But you stop treating yourself like the problem, and that's actually somewhere to start. Before you leave, think of the one thing you've been about to start the longest. You know what it is. You didn't need anyone to ask. Just sit with that for a second. Not to plan anything. Don't feel bad about it. Just to look at it directly, maybe for the first time in a while. That's it. That's actually enough for today. And if this made you think of someone specific, a friend, a sibling, someone you know who's been about to do something for longer than either of you wants to admit, send it to them. Not as a hint. Just because sometimes it helps to know the thing you've been carrying quietly has a name.